Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode with a slightly sick Mark tag. I apologize for that, but this is definitely something I didn't want to miss. We don't get to talk about new Apple hardware every day, and this is actually a very fascinating one. Now I call it weird in my title, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, Apple just introduced a new Apple Pencil. It's not an Apple Pencil 3 or even 2.5. In fact, it's now a cheaper version that sits sort of somewhere in between the Apple Pencil 1 and 2, but is cheaper than either. So it's fascinating, and I really want to cover everything about it with you. Apple says it's bringing more value and choice to the lineup. You can check the article in their newsroom for yourself if you want all the details. Let's see if that actually pans out. Obviously, visually, it's incredibly similar to the Apple Pencil 2. You can see that also with like the pencil inscription. It's a matte one. It has the magnetic connection. So it's actually pretty interesting in that regard. However, it is definitely not exactly the same as the Apple Pencil 2. So Apple claims that it's bringing more choice, it's more affordable while still offering pixel perfect accuracy, low latency, and tilt sensitivity. Tilt sensitivity is actually very interesting, not because tilt sensitivity is there, but because there's something that isn't there, and we'll get to that once we start comparing all the existing Apple Pencils, because they now all have to coexist, as there are still iPads with lightning ports being sold, the 9th gen iPad, and obviously the Apple Pencil 2 is a more premium version of this. So we now have 3 Apple Pencils, so it's now more important than ever to fully understand which Apple Pencil offers what. Now, it obviously is still advertised for all your traditional Apple Pencil use cases: note-taking, sketching, annotating, journaling. It has a matte finish and a flat side for magnetic connection. So far, so good. So far, nothing too surprising. Now, it's important, though, that the magnetic connection exists to store the Apple Pencil on the iPad, not to actually charge it. This is what the Apple Pencil 2 obviously does, and this is why the Apple Pencil 2 is basically a more premium version of this Apple Pencil. It pairs and charges with a USB-C cable. Now that's also important. It does not replicate the connectivity method of the original Apple Pencil 1, where you just stuck it into the lightning port of your iPad and then it paired. This needs a cable because it doesn't have a male USB-C port. It has a female USB-C lightning. It has a female USB-C port, which means you have to stick a cable in there, and that cable goes into your iPad, and then they pair. So it's actually really interesting in that way, and this cap only slides away, right? As far as I understand, it doesn't fully go away. At least I haven't seen, it's not going to be losable, I believe, as it was on the original Apple Pencil 1. So that's quite fascinating, right? It still is low latency, obviously, though I doubt that it has any extra latency improvements over Apple Pencil 2. Again, this is a cheaper version, and it supports Scribble, Quick Note, basically all your modern iPadOS features that go into it, and it even supports Hover with M2 iPad Pro models. Now, there's been some controversy when the M2 iPads Pro came out, and they had basically this exclusive hover feature, but that didn't work with other iPads that supported Apple Pencil 2, and people were saying that maybe this is just a software lock for Apple to advertise more features on the iPad Pro. Be it as it may, you now have a cheaper way to access it by having a cheaper pencil, but you still have to go with an M2 iPad Pro. We are on Tuesday, October 17th, so there has not yet been any new iPads announced. Maybe Hover will be not exclusive to the iPads Pro by the time you watch it, but for now only M2 iPad Pro models support Hover, and they support it with this new Apple Pencil and the Apple Pencil 2. So there's this sliding cap. Again, you have to use a cable. You can definitely use the cable that obviously comes with your iPad Pro or iPad Air or 10th generation iPad that you also use for charging. But it's not as seamless as I would have liked it to be. But again, Apple does not really care that much about convenience and on their lower end products. If they really did, they would have at least offered this pencil right away when the 10th gen iPad was launched. But at least it's cheaper. That allows it to be a more viable, obviously, pairing, like an accessory for something that costs $450, because obviously an $130 Apple Pencil 2 is far less viable for something that costs $50 than something that costs $80, right? This is something that obviously is important here. This is $79. So $79, definitely a big price decrease, but obviously also some cut features that you now have to live with. So we now have a somewhat complicated Apple Pencil lineup, and I think Apple understands that, and this is why they really wanted to present this to users in actually a very interesting graph that will have to go through at this point. I'm not in love with that. I understand keeping accessories for like older models in the lineup, like even like an Apple Pencil first generation. There are plenty of Lightning iPads out there. This is cheaper. I would have just loved for it to like copy the pairing mechanism, just replace the Lightning on the first gen Apple Pencil with USB-C. It's still a workaround, but it's definitely better than what you previously had to do in pairing the first generation Apple Pencil with a 10th generation iPad. So how does Apple address the Apple Pencil lineup? The new Apple Pencil is the most affordable model, as I said, $80, making it ideal for everyday productivity and creativity. With USB-C charging and pairing, the new Apple Pencil is great for iPad 10th generation. As I said, this really exists for the 10th gen iPad, and I assume for subsequent models like it, right? It also works with all iPad models that have a USB-C port, including iPad Pro, iPad Air, and iPad Mini. Though, of course, these models do support Apple Pencil 2 because they offer also the charging mechanism on the side for the Apple Pencil 2. Apple Pencil first generation supports pressure sensitivity, delivering a remarkably fluid and natural drawing experience. Apple Pencil first gen works with iPad 10th gen and the Lightning port on iPad 9th gen, so you can connect it. Makes it easy to quickly connect Apple Pencil first gen for pairing and charging. Yes, for the Lightning port on iPad, so the comma here is really doing a lot of work because it's definitely not easy to connect it to a 10th generation iPad. The Apple Pencil 2nd gen further enhances and streamlines professional workflows with support for pressure, double tap, and Apple Pencil Hover on iPad Pro models with M2. Compatible with iPad Pro, iPad Air, iPad Mini models, so not the 10th gen iPad. Apple Pencil 2nd generation features a matte finish and flat side that supports magnetic pairing and charging. Again, this does not support magnetic pairing and charging. Customers can choose the perfect Apple Pencil that is compatible with their iPad model. For more information on compatibility, visit apple.com/Apple Pencil. So I highly encourage, if you don't know what exactly works with your device, please check it out. Right, so what do we have here? Well, this is actually a very helpful graph. I'm really glad Apple is providing it. Yeah, I think like this is better. So we have still pixel perfect precision. That's nice. Low latency. Again, iPads actually have such low latency that you can barely often feel that it's an LCD panel. Granted, that's of course more evident on the 120 Hz models, but it's still very low latency even on 60 Hz devices. Tilt sensitivity is a feature on all those Apple Pencils. However, and this is why I said that it's important that Apple really wants you to know that it supports tilt sensitivity, because it doesn't support something else, which is Pressure sensitivity. Pressure sensitivity is, as Apple puts it, it's response natural to pressure from a light touch to a deeper press. So it's basically as you would do with a regular pencil, right? If you push it deeper, well, sometimes you can cut the paper, but it would result in like a thicker stroke or something that is far more vibrant if you're using it like with a brush or something. This is not supported on this new Apple Pencil. I don't know if it completely lacks the sensor for it. I guess that's the issue here as a cost-cutting method. So interesting. I do, however, kind of have to say, I kind of understand why. I know it's like a feature really coveted by artists, but for so many people who just take notes and do annotations and some document stuff, this really was not that necessary. And of course, you can also manually change the thickness of your stroke and stuff like that in the settings of whatever like drawing app you use. But this is also supported on the first generation Apple Pencil and the second gen, so this is actually where it's inferior to both, even like the super old first generation Apple Pencil. Now it attaches magnetically, of course, that's why it has basically the same design as the second generation Apple Pencil. It has no wireless pairing or charging, so that's put it on par with the original Apple Pencil. Similar to the Apple Pencil 2, it does support Apple Pencil Hover. However, one thing it lacks from the Apple Pencil 2 is double tapping to change tools. As you know, if you double tap, you always have the option basically, it's also customizable basically app by app, to bring up a different tool. That's very handy. Also something that I kind of understand not a lot of people might necessarily use. And as basically a value add-on, the Apple Pencil 2 supports free engraving, while this one does not. Now, Apple brings up some iPadOS 17 features up here. There's nothing surprising here. If you know what an Apple Pencil does, it basically does all that stuff. So pricing and availability, as I said before, it is available in the US for $79, and it starts shipping in early November. It's compatible with all iPad models with a USB-C port. That includes iPad 10th gen, iPad Air 4th and 5th generation, iPad Pro 11-inch model, which includes basically all 11-inch iPad Pros, the iPad Pro 12.9-inch model, so that excludes the first and second generation of the 12.9-inch iPad Pros that had Lightning, so it's compatible with the 12.9-inch iPad Pro third generation and up. Currently we're at 6th generation with M2, and it's compatible with what is currently the latest generation iPad mini, the 6th generation. This is when we basically got the redesign. Obviously that one also is compatible with Apple Pencil 2. Actually all USB-C iPads support Apple Pencil 2 except for the 10th gen iPad, and this is kind of how I assume this is being pitched to people. The new Apple Pencil is available for $69 for education. Nice. So Apple outlines the compatibility here for first gen Apple Pencil that works with the 10th gen iPad, obviously through some cable workarounds, and the 9th generation iPad that has a Lightning port. It stays in basically in the lineup for $99. You can, for existing owners of Apple Pencil first gen, the USB-C to Apple Pencil adapter is sold separately for $9, so that's how you would make it work with a 10th generation iPad. But nowadays, if you get an Apple Pencil first gen, it comes with the adapter, because Apple knows that most of the people who were likely to buy an Apple Pencil first generation right now are probably not even buying it for an older Lightning iPad or even the 9th gen iPad that is still in the lineup, but they are buying it as what was previously the only Apple Pencil that works with the 10th gen iPad, but now they have a better alternative in my opinion. Apple Pencil second generation is available for purchase separately, compatible with iPad Air, Mini, and Pro for $129. So a $50 price difference. I think the cutoffs are actually reasonable. I still don't understand why they're trying to make this work through a cable rather than directly plugging it into the iPad. Maybe they're really afraid that people would again lose all their Apple Pencil caps and that would be really unpopular. Regardless, it is what it is. I think it's a little weird in its execution. I think it shows the fragmentation of the iPad lineup. If they had shipped an iPad 10th generation that had all, like your magnetic connectivity and your wireless charging and pairing with an Apple Pencil 2, I doubt this would even exist. I think Apple would then be far more inclined to then just upsell people on the Apple Pencil 2. I mean, look at this. This is basically an Apple Pencil 2 just with the slidable cap. So it's interesting. It's not bad for $79. I think it's a pretty good product for like kids and stuff like that, where maybe losing it will be less of a deal to you if it's obviously $80 versus something that costs $130. It lacks some stuff like double tap and pressure sensitivity. Again, if you are not like a big artist who needs a ton of tools while working on something that needs pressure sensitivity, it might actually work for you. Maybe $50 for you is just not worth it, those features either. So you might even consider getting it not only for the 10th generation iPad, but also for other USB-C based iPads. That's still an option. You could make the argument that like an iPad Mini costs $500. Maybe it makes more sense to pair it with an $80 accessory rather than a $130 accessory. So it's cheaper. I don't think it's in any way an actually like better value. I guess Apple says more value to the overall lineup, right? So you have more choice. More choice is definitely always better. I don't always like when Apple like wastes quote unquote internal resources on stuff that really doesn't add anything new or innovative, but hey, at least it's cheaper, right? And I guess that's my most important takeaway here. Now, this is not an accessory I'm gonna buy or test because, well, I have an Apple Pencil 2, so I basically have to just imagine some features missing, and that's what I get. We'll see throughout the week if Apple announces new iPads or maybe a successor to the Apple Pencil 2 or something. Still, that's very doubtful because Apple put all the work in like doing a chart with the Apple Pencil 2 and stuff. So I guess we'll have to wait for an Apple Pencil 3, potentially with like interchangeable magnetic tips, maybe until the M3 iPad Pro launches sometime next year. But this is what we're currently getting. It's a tad confusing. It's a little weird, but it is cheaper and it is a decent alternative for anybody definitely a good alternative for anybody with a 10th gen iPad, and I assume an 11th gen iPad would then just keep going with that trend. But even for people with iPads that support Apple Pencil 2, at least it's a little cheaper, right? Or it's actually substantially cheaper, but I guess when you add up the pricing of the iPad and the Apple Pencil, then it becomes a different issue, right? Once you have like a $1,000 iPad Pro, would you really need to save the $50 on this pencil? So this is some food for thought for you and for me. I'll definitely keep my eyes open for anything else that Apple might announce this week. I guess Mark Gurman has been proven once again correct. He's really good in knowing what is coming. So I guess according to him, that would mean we probably aren't getting anything else this week. So let's see. I hope you learned something. I hope if it's actually something that interests you, then I provided enough enough information so that you can make an informed buying decision. We have had some incredible growth since my last video. We're at almost 7,400 subscribers now. I wanted to say a big thank you for it. To anybody who watches this channel primarily for my shorter videos, please consider going to the live stream section, because this is where a lot of my content lives. Please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, as I call it, the YouTube jazz that we do here. And if you want to support this channel directly, my Patreon link is in the description of this channel, and you can also send super chats and super stickers if you're live with me. Obviously this isn't live, or super thanks once the video has already gone live or gone online. That's basically it. I don't want to hold you up any further. Again, I am a little sick, so I apologize for some extra sweat and some redness, but I really wanted to cover this, and I thank you so much for all your attention and all your support. See you in the next one. This is Mark Tech, tuning out.